Okay, welcome everybody. This is the full moon of July 2024. And I don't know about you, but it feels like it's some of the most intense energies of the times that we've been living through. And for me, I do tend to follow astrology a bit, and it seems to confirm that these are some very intense times. Well, this is a blue moon, which is the second full moon in the month, full moon in Capricorn twice this month, and conjunction between Mars and Uranus, and Pluto is also conjunct the full moon, if that means anything to you. So, and it's very much affecting the United States of America, the chart for this country. So we're definitely going through it, and everybody here, I'm sure, is well aware of all of those issues that we're confronting here in the US and in the world. So I think it's really important that we gather and cultivate our very best to meet these times. And I think this practice can support that. So for those of you who I don't know, my name is Cynthia Jewers, and I have been hosting this call for over 30 years. We have an incredibly beautiful global community now called the Gaia Mandala Global Healing Community that has gathered up around the practice of the Earth Treasure Vases that have been placed and planted all over the planet over these last 30 years, thanks to the instruction of an old lama living in a cave that I met in 1990 when I asked him, what can we do to bring healing and protection to the earth? And he gave me this practice of filling these little clay pots with all of our most heartfelt prayers and offerings, as well as actual symbolic offerings of healing and protection, and then planting these little pots like a seed in the ground, in the places where healing is called for, which is everywhere. Healing, protection, renewal, balance, harmony, all of the things that we need in order to sustain life on Earth and restore the balance and the harmony that has been so abused, really. So this practice is a chance to gather ourselves around our own intentions for our world and for the healing of Mother Earth in all the ways that are called for wherever we choose to focus our prayers. And tonight we are focusing our prayers, our intentions, our collective energy, which is always, we can remember, it's always multiplied during the time of the full moon, because so many spiritual traditions have spoken about how the full moon energy can support and magnify whatever it is that we're doing or thinking or praying about. So that's why we chose this time. And I encourage all of you to go outside after this meditation, being on Zoom land in these little square boxes with each other around this circle, and connect with the moon, connect with the land, feel the earth under your feet if you possibly can, feel the sky around you, the stars, whatever time of day it is or night, to receive the support of the web of life in all its beauty and glory and kind of longevity, the beauty of what we live within, to remember that and take refuge in Gaia and to find ourselves with each other in the web of life, in the embrace of Mother Gaia, is so important to acknowledge and remember, So every time we take a breath, we have an opportunity to conspire with her, with Gaia, with Mother Earth, and with each other, and to strengthen our collective intentions for the restoration of balance and harmony and justice in the world. So that's my soapbox for tonight. I hope you all are with me. Can I see a little yes? Thank you. It's great to feel us here once again. And please, let's remember to take this meditation and take these stories that we're going to share tonight into our hearts, to strengthen our capacity to stand in our own light, to speak our truth, to bear witness, but not to react too intensely, because there's too much reactivity in this world. And this kind of gathering, this kind of practice, I think can really serve to strengthen the depth of our caring, our bodhicitta, as we say in Buddhism, that part of us that loves this earth, this life, that cares so much that we would show up to a call like this to give what we can of our love, of our caring, to contribute that into this this collective experience. And so one of the things that we do when we do the meditation is we invoke all the locations all around the whole planet where the treasure vases have been buried. And we are strengthening their, activating their, all the prayers that are contained in those little holy vessels. And we're also sending this love, this caring out in the form of light that we imagine, we visualize carrying the light of our love around the planet and going into all the places where it's needed to restore balance, to bring healing and restoration. So when we do the meditation, you will be invited into that experience, and it's a precious opportunity. So let's make the most of it. And so here we are in this incredible time that we're living through. And the astrologers do say that while things feel like they're falling apart at the seams in a lot of ways, that this is a passage that we're going through, and it's not the end. So we have to go through this in order to get to a place that maybe Charles Eisenstein would call that more beautiful world our hearts know is possible. So let's support each other in moving in that direction for the benefit of all beings and all life on Earth. So we have this incredibly important Earth Treasure Vase that was buried just recently on Earth Day in April in Washington, D.C. And that intention for that vase was carried for many years, as you might imagine. And we were able to accomplish it. A group of us met there over Earth Day. And I have with me on this call the steward of that treasure vase, Judith Tripp, who did an incredibly beautiful job of bringing us together around it. Judith is here to share that story. She's a carrier of the practice of the labyrinth, which she's been doing for many, many years as well. And the labyrinth was a feature of our pilgrimage to Washington, D.C., bringing us even more deeply into communion with that land and with the purpose of the treasure vase. And we have Lars Howlett here with us, who is also a carrier of the treasure vase, of the labyrinth practice. And really delighted to see you both again, to share a little bit of what our journey was like to bury that vase there, as well as Louise Green, who is was another member, very important member of that pilgrimage, longtime resident of Washington, and member and reverend of the All Souls Church, where we gathered for one of our events there, which was so very, very beautiful. So welcome you three to the call, and I'd love to invite you, Judith, to come forward and share with everyone who has gathered a little bit about how this vase was accomplished. Yeah.
Thank you, Cynthia. I've been getting another unstable message on my internet, so please let me know if I fade out. All right. So good to see everyone, and thank you very much, Cynthia. And so good to be back with Lars and Louise and anyone else who was part of our group. I haven't noticed that in the lineup of people, but I have noticed my cousin and people from Veritas World, and my friends are in the kitchen listening in. So I'm feeling a convergence of circles about this. So thank you all for showing up. You know, I noted, let me start by saying in the last, is it now 3 weeks that we've been in such turmoil. I've been calling it profound disruption. That's how I've been feeling personally, but it has been an absolute pleasure to tune in back into where the vase is buried in Washington, D.C., and to enter into the song line of that place, which really it's a great learning that's happened all the way through the process of finding the place to bury and to gather the people and to find just the right combination of things to make this happen. Because when we started, and let me just go back to the beginning with Marge McCarthy, our ancestor, who was a practitioner with Cynthia for many, many years, and is also one of the founders of Veritas, which is the labyrinth group that both Lars and I are part of. And Marge had a vision that there ought to be a treasure vase buried under a labyrinth in Washington, D.C. And that vision started out very conceptually, that there should be some monumental labyrinth built perhaps on the Mall. I think she even thought maybe Nancy Pelosi should be out there walking with her stilettos on the labyrinth between votes in the Congress. We had wild ideas to begin with. And so what happened though, because this is a reciprocal process, I think, Gaia wasn't ready for that, I would say, or we weren't ready for it. Something didn't sync. So for 1.5 years, we were talking to Congress people and Deb Haaland and all kinds of folk to see if there could be a labyrinth built. And it never happened. It didn't connect. It didn't have the flow to it yet. And it wasn't until I started to really tune into this practice after being on these calls and bearing a vase in Scotland in nature, that it started to seem absolutely clear that the vase needed to be placed in accordance with the natural world. And in this case, the watery world. Before humans were around in where Washington, D.C. is, there were lots of waterways, swampy place. It was about water. And the first peoples there, the Piscataway, were river people. They traveled the waterways. There was a sense that this flowing place was really underneath, just like a layer of a painting that's been painted over. The watery layer was really was essential. So that led to a really strong experience of dreaming the place. I couldn't get it out of my mind. I kept seeing this circle of trees. To the right of the trees was a waterway, and there was, and I asked a friend who said, I said, is there any such place like that in Washington, D.C.? I'm from California. I know Washington, D.C. as the White House and the Lincoln Memorial, et cetera. And she says, oh, there's an incredible park there. And that began a process of of thinking about, okay, maybe this is possible. Then I met Louise, who also thought it was possible. And then Lars very conveniently moved to Silver Springs just right last fall, a year ago. And so the synchronicity of where to place it was really, really strong. And so back in February, I was on the East Coast doing a Women's Dream Quest, and I went to DC. And with the aid of Marianne Wamhoff and her husband, and Lars and Louise, we found the place. And it wasn't a rational decision in any way. It was a led decision. I felt really in partnership with the forces, the presence with Gaia. So that set the stage for the burial, and all kinds of other things started to happen. Louise was preaching on Earth Day, and she has been part of these calls for years, and was really excited to welcome Cynthia and her new book to this beautiful church on 16th Street in DC, and to also welcome a labyrinth into the gymnasium next to the sanctuary. And because of that, Lars got involved and found us a labyrinth, and we started to take Marge's vision and deconstruct it just a little bit. There would be a labyrinth. In fact, there is a pewter labyrinth on top of the vase as we buried her. There's also a labyrinth down where Rock Creek enters the Potomac. So there's connections that way. And we consulted with Marge in her spirit form, and she seemed quite pleased with this idea.
Mhm.
So there got to be also this kind of a weaving of these practices of labyrinth walking and the Buddhist practice of burying treasure vases. And they seem to go together just like a weaving. And we used the labyrinth to process some of the things that we were working with in our pilgrimage. So, okay, stage is set. The place is decided on. Lars is going to dig the hole. We know what we're doing. We find a place to stay on 16th Street in this house that's generally used for frat parties, we think. But it was a large, big house. We could all be there. And then it became important in my sense of things that we make this a pilgrimage. That because of the state we are in the world right now, that it would be very important to reckon with that on a personal, embodied level. And the people who came, there were 15 of us, were all people who were deeply involved and deeply caring people who really care about our country and our earth. And they all came with the idea of us bringing to the vase our own senses of what's going on in the world. We did field trips from our house to both to the Native American Museum and the African American Museum in Washington, D.C., both of which are wrenching, beautiful experiences. And we did that in one day, all of us taking the bus down and walking the mall. And we really allowed ourselves to immerse ourselves in these really strong currents in our country and culture that are echoes of other streams in Western civilization. The whole horrible fact of enslavement and the horrible fact of indigenous rights, indigenous murders, and indigenous genocide. And underneath all of that is the despoilment of our beautiful planet too. Places that should have been left to be watery, paved over. And we all carried whatever we know about those things in our lifetime of experience. We carried those things to the vase. And just because it was Washington, D.C., and it had been a very long time in coming, it seemed very important for us to do that work of processing those things and to speak to the vase from our lens of understanding what has been troubling and what has been very destructive in our past. And that also led to us feeling what we're hopeful about, where we want things to go, where we want flow. And I truly, flow has become the word in my mind that this vase holds. Not that all of them don't hold that. And so in my last couple of weeks, my anxiety about the world, what happens is I do get to a place where I can let that flow into my remembrance of where the vase is and how it goes into the waterways. So that's a lot of what happened. We came together as a circle. We shared deeply with each other from our hearts, from our emotions, from our minds. We've all lived as conscious beings in this time. And we brought that to the vase too. So it was an extraordinary experience, one of the most meaningful experiences of my life to be able to do this. And all of us brought our whole souls and selves there. All Souls Church was a good place to gather, absolutely. And I've learned so much in the process. I've learned not to force anything, not to think it's supposed to be a particular sort of way. It was a far cry from a monumental labyrinth on the mall to a very humble place in nature with a set of trees, a circle of trees truly guarding the place where the vase was buried. And that all makes a lot of sense to me, that it happened when it did on Earth Day. It was right after a very beneficent astrological aspects that particular week. Apparently things are changing astrologically as we go through this year, but in April, there was just incredible flow going on, things moving and opening. And I think all of us who were on the pilgrimage felt that there was a buoying. We felt like we were part of something that was happening and that we were saying yes to it. Yeah, so I think I've learned in this process that community is essential in this whole burying of treasure vases. That pilgrimage, that sense of going to a place as a pilgrim as opposed to a tourist, going from the heart and not the head so much, that also is an incredible adjunct to the practice. And it was just an extraordinary experience. I do hope that you all tune into this space when you might be thinking of the things that are difficult in our world right now. And that you'll understand how, like all the vases on the mandala, that this vase is part of the flowing world as opposed to the mental world. And that when we tune into one, we tune into them all. That always surprises me when I meditate on this one place. I find myself kind of all the rest of the places lighting up in my consciousness. So I want to say one more thing. I did take this rock from the burial site. My friend Leah, who was with me the day after the burial, we both wondered if this was exactly kosher, given its national park, but this rock has been with me ever since. And first of all, I had it on my altar, and then I needed to put her outside by my labyrinth, by my statue of Mother Mary. And that's where she sits, in a very sacred part of my property here. I wanted you to see her, and if you glean anything energetically from this rock, this was in the place where the treasure vase is buried. And I think these tangible connections to place and to the node on the mandala are really helpful. In some ways, it's such a simple practice. We put our prayers and intentions and little bits and pieces of sacred objects into a vase, into the ground, and we know that it's doing its work. The simple practice of that. Okay.
Thank you, Judith.
You're welcome, Cynthia.
It was incredible to be there on this pilgrimage. I know I'll speak for myself briefly that I felt a little anxiety going into the belly of the beast, but our time was very blessed, and it felt so good to be able to plant that vase in that place. And I'm so grateful that we took the time, the significant time that we did, visiting the African American Museum and the Native American Museum, to really bring those elements as strongly as we did into this particular treasure vase, because of course the building of Washington was done in relationship to those communities. So we have a lot to reckon with. We have a lot to come to terms with in our country and in the world. So baby steps, but maybe this can be a little seed planted for the good of all. So Lars, what is your perspective?
Oh, thank you, Cynthia, and thank you, Judith. And for me, it was really incredible to engage in the idea of sacred space and sacred time, and that's what I feel the labyrinth does. And the labyrinth also as a symbolic pilgrimage, and then to be a guest. I was a support person for the pilgrimage with Judith and led by Judith, and Marge's vision of having a labyrinth connected to the Earth Treasure Vase to amplify that energy and bring in the walking meditation and mindfulness practice. And many people in the labyrinth community also see labyrinths as earth acupuncture, which I've heard about Earth Treasure Vases being, and that one labyrinth is connected to the other labyrinths, and just as the vases are connected to each other. So there is a lot of symbiosis between the two practices. And then synchronicity is just so important to pay attention to. And, reading Cynthia's book and learning that it was Tengboche Monastery that she went after she met the monk. And I had been to Tengboche Monastery on a trek in 2009 and had actually built a labyrinth, a little 3-circuit labyrinth on the trail to Mount Everest base camp, and had spent 2 nights in the monastery, and actually had the privilege to meditate with the monks at sunrise in their temple one day. And so I felt a connection to that monastery. And then when Louise joined our group, and she's from the Unitarian Church where my grandfather had been a minister in the 1950s in Washington, D.C. And I had had a dream to create a labyrinth there at that church. And through this project, I was able to create a temporary labyrinth and facilitate the youth groups during the service when Cynthia and Louise were speaking during the Sunday school. The youth came to a 11 circuit chart medieval labyrinth that we laid out, and we used it for ourselves to ground ourselves that morning on Earth Day, but it was also nice to offer it to the community. And in the center was a satellite image of the Earth that Judith and I had actually brought from the Parliament of World Religions in Chicago. So we had a giant satellite image of the Earth at the center. And then when we buried the vase, we wanted to also incorporate a labyrinth walk. So I improvised a 3-circuit labyrinth on the sandy bank of the Rock Creek, and we walked is a processional labyrinth. So it's actually a one-way labyrinth that goes through a center and out the other side. And so we walked through that 3-circuit labyrinth on the sandy bank and then up into the forest. And I had been on one retreat with Thich Nhat Hanh in Canada and had practiced walking meditation with him at sunrise. And it felt very much like that, to walk slowly on the pathway through the woods to the site, and then to bury the labyrinth, to bury the Earth Treasure Vase with the labyrinth, like a finger labyrinth that you could trace, with a finger on top. We buried that into the earth and then retraced our steps just as in a labyrinth, as if we had buried the vase in the center of the labyrinth walk, and then retraced our steps back again to the creek and retraced through the 3-circuit processional labyrinth, then to be back by the water. And so in some ways, the burial of the vase was its own labyrinth walk, of walking into the woods, being in the center and performing the ritual, and then returning back through the trail back to the water. And the idea then that the energy flows, as Judith was saying, down the creek and into the Potomac River and past the monuments and out the Chesapeake Bay to the Atlantic Ocean and around the world. So, it was just great to share both of those practices, to meld them together, and then to be with the group and experience this for the healing of the earth. So thank you.
Thank you so much for what you brought, Lars. It was really a wonderful contribution. And that labyrinth we walked along the edge of the river was made from bird seed, which was a beautiful touch. Anyway, it felt like when we put the vase into the ground, and I know Judith just bowed down and put her whole head into the hole, it was like the vase and the energies in the vase and all of our prayers for all of this time entering into the, as we say in Australia, the song lines, and the flow, entering the whole global mandala, inviting the energies of the whole mandala to come into that particular location, which was so perfect. So, we did it. Right, Louise?
Do we have time for Lars to show the picture of the spiral?
I think I'm going to move on, but I was going to say something about that in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah. I wanted to invite you, Louise, to just share a few reflections also from your point of view.
Thank you. Some dogs are barking, so I don't know if you're hearing them, but I'm in Mexico. There are many dogs barking. You're getting the idea. This was such a multi-layered, textured, multi-dimensional experience, and at least for me and probably all the pilgrims, it was so far beyond what you could really imagine in advance. And I think I just wanted to name a couple of things that had to do with my experience with it. Sorry, my voice is a little low. I have a respiratory thing. I've been in these calls more or less since 2016, and I had a visual experience maybe 5 years ago of an Earth Treasure Vase jumping into my lap during one of our meditations. And I had reached out. A couple of vases had been intended for DC, but it seemed like it didn't connect. It wasn't. And as soon as I reached out to Judith, within the hour, she was in Glastonbury and emailed me back. And it just felt like the alignment was starting to happen. And I experienced it almost like each person following certain threads that were shining for them. And it kept being woven more and more, kind of like Eliza Jane's beautiful basket that she wove to hold the vase itself. And I wanted to say something particular about the All Souls Unitarian history. I had a very strong feeling that All Souls had something to do with this because it's a over 200-year-old congregation. It represents a lot of liberal and progressive, well-meaning, well-educated white people who are part of power structure in DC when first founded John Quincy Adams was one of the founders. He's the 6th president, and John Calhoun, the 7th vice president, was also one of the founders. And they represented the tension in the country around slavery and the original sin, those who tried to accommodate and those who defended. So it's like embedded in the historic institution. And then the church sits on this ley line of 16th Street with a tall, tall tower with a bell cast by the nephew of Paul Revere. So it's like this repository of some of the history near Rock Creek, but not on these water lines. So as I was preparing, I kept seeing visual things. I mean, I would drive around to that place in Rock Creek at a particular place, Milk House Ford, which is where humans blocked Rock Creek and blocked the Herring Highway, and felt like that spot had something to do with it, or drove to the National Museum of the American Indian and walked it, or the National Museum of African American History and Culture. And it just felt like all these things were the convergence of the basket that we were weaving and that we were holding in this watershed, which was the Anacostia, the Potomac, and Rock Creek. So it was almost like once everyone gathered and the labyrinth was set and the intention was set, it was just like a weaving that became almost this multi-dimensional, very spiral experience. So I'm just trying to convey an aspect of how dreamlike it was for me. I probably the whole 5 days, I felt like I was in a kind of timelessness. And it has been a vehicle of a lot of personal change and I think collective change. And both Lars and I have had the privilege really of being able to go separately back to the site repeatedly and feel what's radiating there now, which is so striking and profound. And I think the sense of repair for First Peoples lands, indigenous lands, waterways is very, very strong. There was a storm very soon after where a lot of trees came down on the pathway right below the coherence of the grove where the vase is. And I'm just grateful about how it's woven me further into this Gaia Mandala and the experiences that are coming. And to Judith in particular for her stewarding, and Cynthia for co-leading. It's still radiating, but it will continue to radiate. So I feel blessed by it.
May it continue to radiate, and may that timeless quality that I think we all experienced as we went through that pilgrimage be embedded into that land and into the spirit of that place, which has become so fraught in so many ways and which is going through such a profound transformation, our country. So I'm very much looking forward to opening the circle for sharing after the meditation, and hearing your prayers, your offerings, your reflections on the importance of this particular treasure vase into this global healing mandala. But we'll wait to do that until after the meditation is over. So I hope that you will stay with us for that opportunity, because it's a very precious part of what we do together. And I'm seeing quite a lot of people who are new to the call, and I really want to welcome all of you for being here if it's your first time, and very much hope to hear your voices. So there was one other woman who was on the pilgrimage, and I do see that there's like at least 4 others on this call who were part of the pilgrimage, Julianne and Jenny and Liza Jane and Leslie Meehan. All of you were also with us. Thank you so much for your part in being there. Laura Lynn Baker was an important member of our little traveling community as well. If you are receiving our newsletter, you may have seen an article that she shared, which was some deep processing that she went through. And unfortunately, she was unable to join the call tonight. Unexpectedly, we just learned that right before the call. So I wanted to let you all know who do receive the newsletter that we're going to post an update to that story, which she shared only after the newsletter was printed or went out, sorry, that the kind of catalyst for some deep things that she went through, she being Laura Lynn being part Native, she was an important member of our community with this particular treasure vase, and that got very much resolved in an amazing way with someone else that she interacted with that triggered a lot of feelings for her. And it was resolved in an incredible way, which included Laura Lynn inviting this person to join her on her own pilgrimage with the treasure vase that she is stewarding to the tribe that she is part of in Montana, which is the Little Shell tribe. And incredibly, after the pilgrimage to Washington, she was actually she went to a gathering of members of the Little Shell tribe in Montana to make relations and talk about this practice with some members of her own people, including the tribal chairman, who she ended up receiving an invitation from him directly to come and plant the vase there on behalf of their people. To the tribe is in the process of getting recognition, which it hasn't had up to now, and claiming the land in a new way. So that story will be continuing through Laura Lynn, and we will update her article on the website. So let's just take a moment maybe to just thank Laura Lynn for the depth of honesty that she was able to write about and process, because one things I think we have learned over the years working with this practice is that in fact we are all vessels for healing. And we may carry these earth treasure vases here and there all over the world, and they hold many prayers and intentions and all of that, and they have some power in them actually. But so do we, each individually. And when we steward a vase, we often find ourselves going through and processing in such a way our experience that hopefully, because of our intention to be of benefit, is actually affecting the whole collective around our experience. So it's happening on many levels, this practice of bringing healing and protection to the earth and transformation for the issues and the embedded intergenerational issues of trauma and oppression that have led to the need for healing in these times. So here we are, all of us, I'm sure, doing this work in all the ways that we know that we can, each in our own way. For some of us, it looks one way, and for some of us, it looks another. But Laura Lynn did a big piece of that work for many of us in relationship to this treasure vase. So thank you, Laura Lynn. And thank you again, everyone, for being here. So we will now go into the meditation, and Judith is going to lead the meditation with me. We'll start with a bell, and so I invite you, I would invite you to turn your screen visually off, but don't go away. Stay with us, stay here. because this is such an important part of what we do together, is to cultivate our the deeper part of ourselves that is unconditioned by time, that is unconditioned by all the ups and downs and ins and outs. And, you know, let's just call it, well, I maybe better not use that word, but let's return to the depth of our true source and cultivate this meditation together. And at a certain point in our practice, towards the end, Julian Silburn, who's here from Australia, will bring in the didgeridoo, the sound of that incredible instrument that takes us even more deeply into what our meditation is all about. And then we'll close and open the circle for sharing. Oh, thank you. So we'll close our screens so that we can go inward and not be distracted by all the beautiful images that we see in front of us, the many facets of our global community. Oh, here's the bell. So let's begin by taking a few deep breaths in and out, deep and slow, feeling with each breath the release of all that has come before and all that has come or may come after. And with each breath, breathing in and breathing out, feeling how our body can relax. We can return to the feeling of being in our bodies and not just in our heads. With each breath, sensing the ground beneath us, holding us, offering stability and calm abiding, grounding, which we need so much to remember, to feel, to connect with. And imagine our own roots reaching deep down into the earth, finding that stability, finding that connection. Breathing in and breathing out, drawing up through our own taproot those nourishing energies and life force of Mother Earth, which she gives freely, which she gives generously to each of us. Receiving this energy and nourishment as we let go of any of the thoughts and concerns for the future, melt away. And in this precious moment of communion with each other and with the stabilizing and nourishing energies of Mother Earth, let us ground ever more deeply and rootedly into our own place. Giving thanks for being here as we open also to the light from above, feeling the warmth from the sun and the moon and the stars, this incredible magic world that we live within, feeling the expansiveness as we connect with all these vast energies of the entire cosmos, our little place within it, rooted below, connected above, in this present moment, breathing, just breathing. And feeling the connectedness to the place where each of us sits right now on planet Earth, our own relationship to the soils, the stones, the waterways, the forests, the parks, the flowers, the birds, all the communities of life who call these habitats their home, just like we do, and who also receive stability and nourishment from Mother Earth, and warmth from the sun, light from the moon. Feeling our oneness with all life.
And now, in this present moment, in this special place, we acknowledge those who have come before, the ancestors of the original indigenous peoples of the lands we inhabit, who have been in sacred relationship with our lands for countless generations. We acknowledge the future ancestors of this land who will continue to hold this land as sacred for countless generations to come. And we humbly invite all of them to bless us and our practice. Let's also call upon all of our sources of inspiration, our own ancestors, elders, teachers, and guides, lineage masters, Buddhas, bodhisattvas, and wisdom beings that we feel connected to, and invite them all to be present with us now. We invite their blessings to enter us and everyone who is present for this meditation, and receive the blessing of their love, support, guidance, healing, and clarity. As this blessing enters you, feel this love and caring coming all the way into your deepest heart of hearts. And breathe it in. And breathing out, send this love to everyone who is present in this circle. And breathing in, receive the love that is being sent. Breathing out, sending. Breathing in, receiving. Like the ebb and flow of the tides washing blessing amongst us in this circle. Gradually expanding your focus to include all of your friends, family, and community, and all of those who this practice may serve. Imagine our circle gradually growing from our home, neighborhood, bioregion, country, and continent to include all beings in all places, everywhere, embracing the whole planet with our love, breathing in, breathing out with Gaia.
Now, with this feeling of rootedness below, expansiveness above, and waves of love flowing from your heart, let's turn our awareness to those who are suffering, the places where there is war, poverty, disease, pollution, droughts or floods or fires, wherever the need for healing is very great. And breathe in this suffering. And on the out breath, send your love and caring to relieve the suffering of the earth, of her people, and of all life all around the whole planet. Imagine that where there is hunger, great nourishing gardens begin to grow. Where there is thirst, fresh, clean waterways spring up. Where there are unhoused, safe shelters are built. Where there is war or conflict, choirs of peace echo in the hills. Where there is sickness, vital health is celebrated. And aware of where the earth is unstable, in danger, or out of balance in any way, imagine a restoration of balanced power, bringing protection and regeneration as you hear the land sing out in harmony. Now see the generosity and reciprocity in communities of life flowing freely. Seeing the beauty and riches of nature flowering into abundance for the sustenance of life. Revitalizing this radiant blue-green planet we call home.
As we hold this glowing vision of Mother Earth, we call into our awareness the presence of the Earth Treasure Vases that have been planted or are in the process of being planted all around the world. Let us imagine that together we are pouring our love and caring in the form of light into each and every little clay pot buried in the body of Mother Earth, filling each vase with our deepest prayers and blessings for healing. Imagine each treasure vase radiating light in every direction, sending healing and protective energies wherever it is needed, in whatever form it is needed. See the light like a rainbow streaming forth from each of the vases. White, yellow, red, blue, green, and all the colors in between. And breathing in and breathing out. Allow the feeling of caring and compassion in your heart of hearts to grow. Send that love out in the form of light to all the people, animals, plants, and places that are connected to the Earth Treasure Vases, that need healing and protection in the past, in the present, and in the future.
Beginning at the center of the Earth Treasure Vase Global Healing Mandala in a cave above Los Alamos National Laboratory in New Mexico, the birthplace of the atomic bomb. And to the north at the source of the Rio Grande River in Creede, Colorado. To the south at the mouth of the Rio Grande at the Gulf of Mexico. To the east on top of Mount Baldy above Santa Fe. And to the west on Mount Chacoma, known as Tsikamu, to the Tewa people of New Mexico, who are the custodians of the sacred lands where this mandala began. This is how we established the center and the four directions of the global healing mandala. And from here, the mandala began to grow in every direction. To the Indian Point Nuclear Reservation on the Hudson River in New York, to the Headwaters Old Growth Redwood Forest in Northern California, the Punta Cometa on the coast of Oaxaca, Mexico, Vilcabamba, Ecuador, Jakova, Kosovo, the Lawrence Laboratory at the University of California, Berkeley, the Taodum Forest on the border of Thailand and Burma, the village of Ein Karim in Israel, Palestine, Hiroshima, Japan, the cloisters in New York City after 9/11, the Biosphere 2 in Oracle, Arizona, the Martin Luther King Freedom Center in Oakland, California, the source of the Ganges in India, the source of the Amazon in Peru, the southern Pacific Ocean 93 feet down in Agum Atoll, the Trobriand Islands, Papua New Guinea, the Arctic Circle, Alaska, the Kogi lands of the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta, Colombia, Telewoyan Village, Lofa County, Voinjama District, Liberia, West Africa, the Blida River Canyon, Limpopo Province, South Africa, the Giza Plateau in Egypt, Haleakala, Maui, Hawaii, the Itombwe Forest, South Kivu Province, Democratic Republic of Congo, Avebury, England, Bindaluk, Jawan Country, Catherine, Northern Territory, Australia.
And the second generation of Earth Treasure Vases in Gamaramang, Arnhem Land, Australia. The Mackenzie King Park, Ottawa River Valley, Ottawa, Gatineau, Canada. The original garden in Findhorn, Scotland. The Great Stupa of Buddhanath in Kathmandu, Nepal. The Flint Hills of Kansas in the heartland of America. The Santa Cruz Mountains near Silicon Valley, California. The Valles Caldera of northern New Mexico. Pernalulu, Bungle Bungles, the Kimberleys, Australia. The village of Utah-Vik at the edge of the sea in northernmost Arctic Alaska. The Hanford Nuclear Reservation on the shores of the Columbia River in the state of Washington. Mount Ryosan above Fukushima, Japan. Back to where it all began at the Cave Hermitage of Charok, Nepal. To Margibi County, Liberia. In the base of an old ironbark tree on Dithahul Mountain in the Budawang Wilderness of the Wabunja County, Yuin Nation, southeastern Australia. And to our root temple, Tolu Tarling Monastery in Nepal, the Munzer Valley in Turkey, Serpent Mound in Ohio, the Ashkanika Spiritual Portal, Campa do Rio Ammonia Indigenous Land, Acre, Brazilian Amazon, bordering Peru. The Border Peace School, Chirawan, the demilitarized zone between North and South Korea, and Nabusmaki, Ahurako territory in Colombia. In Arkaroa, Te Wapornemu, South Island, Aotearoa, New Zealand, on Mount Parnassus above Delphi, in Greece, and on Sibyl Mountain, La Marche Terre region, Italy.
And the third generation of Earth Treasure Vases in Antarctica, the Isle of Lewis in the Outer Hebrides of Scotland, the Saugatuck Dunes on Lake Michigan in the United States, to the Highwood Valley in the Rocky Mountains of Alberta, Canada, southeastern United States, Turtle Island, Shawnee, Tennessee, on the shores of Lake Washington, in Kirkland, Washington, near the Life Care Center where COVID began in the US, and in the Permian Basin, New Mexico. Let's also include the Earth Treasure Vases being stewarded now. 15 second-generation vases, 16 third-generation vases, and 3 second-generation vases still awaiting their dedication who rest on the altar along with the mother vase. Once again, please take a deep, slow in-breath and a deep, slow out-breath. And imagine that all that is needed to relieve the suffering of the earth can be seen as light, radiating out from each of the Earth Treasure Vases all around the whole planet in every direction. Imagine this healing of light flowing out from the vases, filling the whole global Earth Treasure Vase mandala of locations with the powerful energies of our love and our caring. See this healing force traveling through the song lines and meridians of the earth, flowing into each location on the global mandala. See the mandala like a web of light embracing the whole planet. Feel the light flowing back and forth like waves from your heart to the Earth Treasure Vases, energizing them and adding vitality and brilliance to the light that is then flowing out to the whole area in the sphere of influence of each of these Earth Treasure Vases.
Now imagine this light flowing into your own location, your special spot in nature, and feel the collective spiritual intelligence of the entire global Earth Treasure Vase mandala, activating your node on the global healing mandala and entering you as a holy vessel. Finally, let us focus now on the Earth Treasure Vase planted in Washington, D.C. Let's take another deep breath. In and out. And focus our concentration one-pointedly on bringing healing and protection, peace and harmony, restoration and renewal to Washington, D.C., and to the whole earth for all time. See the healing and protection radiating out from this vase and all the vases around the earth in waves of light flowing back and forth endlessly. And imagine that the healing is accomplished and the vitality of the earth is completely restored.
And now recognizing the great interconnected web that is life on Earth, of which we are each a part. Let's give thanks for this precious, sacred time and pray that the compassion and peace that is our true condition may bring supreme happiness and benefit to the earth and to all beings. And with another deep, slow in-breath and deep, slow out-breath, let's bring our awareness back to our body, feeling our feet on the floor, grounded on the earth in our own location, and wiggling our toes, opening our eyes and returning to the circle for sharing our prayers and making our offerings. And when you hear the bell, you can turn on your screen again.
For as long as Earth remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may these Earth Treasure Vases too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Through the merits of this practice, may all beings realize their inseparability with Gaia and all life. And may we live in peace and harmony. May there be no more war or conflict, and may all hearts be filled with compassion. Alalaho.
Alalaho. Isn't it wonderful that we can make these prayers together, practice together in this way? So here is the Mama vessel, the last of the original Earth Treasure Vases, which I will open to receive whatever prayers or intentions or offerings you may have, that they may contribute to all the prayers that have been made already and will continue to be planted in this earth. I wanted to start by inviting anyone who is on the pilgrimage to Washington, D.C., if you would like to share from your heart anything that feels like it wants to be shared at this time. And then we'll open the circle for anyone, and I'll call on you, or you can raise your hand. Is there anyone who was with us in Washington, D.C. that might like to add something to this circle? Yes, Leslie and Roger.
I feel very blessed to be part of this community and to have been able to go on this pilgrimage, which for me was a call to be and do the biggest, most that I can be for healing and transformation in our country. We were in the belly of the beast, at the heart of the trauma and the chaos in the country. And my dream, my vision in this meditation, my prayer is that this vase be, the DC vase, act as the acupuncture flow point to flow the love and compassion of all the vases and the whole community of beloveds who've planted these vases and who are um, vases, love vases themselves, and the whole labyrinth community, which I've also been part of for decades. It's a real joy to me to have these practices weave together so beautifully. Thank you. And I see the global community of labyrinths and the people who walk them and who love them and who build them also connected through this vase and bringing this rainbow light of many colors of the whole world into the heart of DC, which, according to my sister who lives there, acts often like there's no world beyond the Beltway. Well, there is a whole planet, and what happens in the Beltway affects the whole world, all the people, all the beings, the Earth, Mother Earth. So I saw all the light and love just opening the hearts of everyone in our government, connecting them to their hearts and their soul and their caring and their awareness, their awakening that they are connected, that we are one. And my prayer is that their hearts are open and that they act as vases themselves, vases of compassion. I hope.
Oh,
May it be so. Thank you so much. Yeah. Right. Jenny Ladd.
Hello. I was just a part of this trip, not the whole village and pilgrimage, and so appreciative of being a part of that. And I feel both in these sessions just the power of us knowing ourselves individually and being a collective, a whole collective, that we have group mind in the best sense, the group mind made of our each individual hearts and intelligences. And that as Americans, I feel that I've learned to think about myself, but the practice of really thinking with group consciousness is a practice. And I feel like this gathering in Washington, D.C. was an affirmation of that, and an affirmation of our country moving forward with that sense of community fed by us as individuals, whole individuals. Thank you for letting me join you.
Mm. It's an honor to have you with us, Jenny. Also knowing your own personal history there and how much you care. So thank you for coming to be with us.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Julianne and Christopher, welcome.
I just wanted to share a few things briefly from the pilgrimage in Washington. Some of the visions that came, I wanted to speak into our circle. The visions of the ancestors, the indigenous ancestors, that were so clearly with us at the Native American Museum, so clearly when we were chanting, they were there with us. And this power, I think, in our heartfelt reconciliation that we, as Cynthia and Judith have talked about, that we really connected with the peoples that have been injured. And I really believe, and I also learned this at Ghost Ranch when we were crafting the third generation, that this gesture of amends allows the ancestors to flow with us. And so I wanted to just remember that together, that our non-living relatives are strong and brave and are with us. And as much as we might see ourselves or our fellow travelers struggling, they're not. And that we open these portals and that they're with us. I also wanted, because it was just so charming to me, after we buried the vase, and another vision came to me where I was suddenly in the earth with the vase, and she just took off under, like the tunnels that connect to the White House. Like she knew, I'm going. So I just felt that so much. No question, she knew where to go and what to do. So again, whatever we think we see, I just want to speak into the circle, the unseen truths that are happening.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you. Hmm. We did go and stand in front of the White House and make a direct connection. Lars.
Thank you. So I went back today to the site, and it's by a place in the creek where there was actually concrete poured to make a crossing, a road over the creek. And also close is Military Road with a giant overpass, Military Road over the creek. And on the support for the overpass, somebody had written Geo really large.
Hmm.
And I saw that when we were looking for locations, and I thought, Geo, that's the Earth, right? Geo. And it felt like a sign, another synchronicity in the project.
Mhm.
And today I went and looked at that again, and someone actually changed the Geo into, it says now, know your geography, know your geography. And I felt like, okay, well, here's a calling, know your place, know the other places, know your relationship to the world. And right next to it, somebody else had graffitied F the Earth. And it was a real sense of the sacred and the profane. And somebody who had lost hope or didn't care or was angry or violent. And so my, I guess, prayer, wish for the vase would be that, it creates a sense of sacred and can, as an antidote to the profane, or to balance, and hopefully as the energy grows, to flood over the profane and inundate it with a sense of sacred. And once we are able to see everything as sacred, then we will protect it, and it will finally be saved.
Mm-mm-mm. Thank you, Lars. Who else would like to share something into the circle? Louise, please go ahead.
Mm. I keep hearing that poem, Antonio Machado, "The Road is Made by Walking." And I just kept feeling from this vase in DC how much we walked, how much we moved, how much our feet were on the ground, how we sang, how we did some dancing, we did some drumming, and just seeing the movement of so many labyrinths and so many places all lit up, and how our engagement with Gaia is completely different in motion, and that embracing, and how many labyrinth points there are. There's someone here who's the keeper of a beautiful labyrinth in Crestone, Colorado, which is a root labyrinth, and another community I'm in. So all these sacred places are these walking practices. So I guess I offer to the vase continuing commitment to practice in motion and song and drum, and the humility with Gaia.
Mhm. Thank you, Louise. And thank you for bringing us to All Souls Church. That was a high point for me personally, to be in that wonderful congregation and the diversity of the people, and that institution that has such a long history, and be able to offer all of this there was deeply meaningful.
And it was a beautiful way for me to complete my history there, because I have a 20-year relationship off and on, and it ended June 30th. So now I'm moving more fully into Earth chaplaincy, ego chaplaincy, and the next calling. So it was a great, amazing part of my ritual ending. So thank you for the pilgrimage, for gracing that process with your presence, every one of you.
Yeah. All right, Liza Jane. Liza Jane, where did you
Hello,
go?
everyone. Thank you for your patience. I did want to just feel into the love and the connections of the people who were on the pilgrimage, as well as the connections of the vases that are often so potent. And I really felt into that with this particular vase. And I collected waters while I was there, and added those waters to healing waters that I've been collecting for many years, and brought those to the convergence. And Cynthia and others added to those waters. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you so much for that. And those waters blessed each person who were on the convergence, and were I made offerings to each of the vases, including the mother vase. So I just wanted to bring in that flow of the waters, and with deep gratitude for each person who is on this call and who joins in this practice around the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Liza. Yeah. What other prayers or wishes or aspirations do we have? Kat? Yes.
First of all, thank you everyone for sharing your experience and, heartfelt prayers around the Washington vase. It's very powerful, profound. The thing that's arising in me to pray for and feeling into it, seeing it rising in myself, is the way that cynicism becomes a dam to the flow of life. And so my prayer is that that the dams of cynicism that live in us and in our culture will be removed to free up the flow of love and community and healing that is just right there to flow. And that it be removed within myself and our country, our world.
Yes, may it be so. Let's add to that powerlessness. Prayer to claim what is ours and not feel diminished in the face of that cynicism and despair. All right, Ray. Ray Taylor.
Yes. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Cynthia, as always, bringing us together and so beautifully tonight, so immediately in to our purpose as you began for us. I'm just very deeply grateful to Judith and everyone, Leslie, everyone, Julianne, everyone who was in Washington. And for this evening's call, I'm particularly grateful to Julianne's didgeridoo. I felt an intense sense of cleansing, of energy through the sound this evening. And so I would like to just, by acknowledging it, perhaps amplify that possibility in the vase for cleansing of purpose, cleansing of heart, cleansing of the focus on peace for each of us and all of us, and particularly in the United States right now. Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Hi, Marita. Come on in.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone involved in the story, from Marge to everyone else. I don't usually get visual images during these meditations, but I did tonight, and I felt as though this blue moon, this second moon in Capricorn, was a special ceremony for the Earth Treasure Vase. And as each of the locations were read out, I imagined someone in that native garb carrying that vase into the circle of this grove of trees that I'm imagining where the DC vase is buried. And this long procession of people in just beautiful traditional garb, bringing all of the Earth Treasure vases in, so that there was just this incredibly bright light inside this grove of trees. And then I saw, and I'm not in control of this, so I saw Abraham Lincoln walking in, and I offer this prayer of his words that I wrote on a scroll that I gave to Judith for that vase. And this is what he said: the mystic cords of memory stretching from every battlefield and patriot grave to every living heart and hearthstone all over this land will yet swell the chorus of the Union when again touched, as surely they will be, by the better angels of our nature.
Mhm. Thank you, Marita. Sherry, please.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. This is my first full moon online here. And I was at the convergence in New Mexico where I was initiated, and my heart is continuing, and my being and soul is continuing to be so deeply connected to all of these vases. And it's like I have been doing that work without having a structure in a way. And so this just, it's like being able to anchor in and join with my energy and my light into this field is like kind of an answer to a prayer for how can I, be fully met in my deepest knowings of what's possible. So I feel so fully met, and so grateful for the stewardship, Cynthia, for you and for everyone here. So thank you so much. I want to bring in the mother trees on the earth because they were activated in New Mexico, and they are now also getting the healing from this mandala around the earth. And they are powerful beings who have been anchoring in life-giving energy. And we were asked to connect the vases with them because they were separated from themselves. So I invite you to kind of also feel that presence of those trees around the planet, because they're holding things in a way that is the mystery that we can't quite understand. And wow, I want to add my prayer of that the light from that mandala in DC and all of them everywhere, but particularly this acupuncture point in DC right now, that there is this, that into the hearts of all who are in power and who think they know and who have ideas of what's possible for transformation on the planet in a time of great disruption, like you spoke at the beginning of, astrologically, it's like for that remembering to become more present somatically in their bodies, not through the mind, which can't quite comprehend, but that we're anchoring in this energy on the earth, and it can open up doorways in the hearts and minds of people who have forgotten and been disconnected. So my prayer is just for that openness to be there, because there's some pretty dark images and beliefs about what's possible. And to me, this is the greater truth of what is. And so I feel so uplifted and so grateful, and thank you so much. So thank you for hearing my prayer.
Yes, may it be heard by all who need to hear it. And so glad to have you with us, Sherry. Yeah. Go ahead, Stephen.
Thank you. First of all, Cynthia, I'd like to thank you for your dedication to this practice for so many decades and for making it possible for people to bury these faces all over the world, especially the one that was just buried in Washington. And I'd also like to thank Judith for her excellent stewardship of this particular vase and all the people who were involved with it, including Jenny and some of the people who were there that I know that were there, like Liza and Leslie and Laura Lynn and a few others whose names are not coming to me at the moment, but thank you all. I'd like to offer a chant of the goddess of compassion. You may know that person as Kuan Yin. Some people know him, her as Avalokiteshvara. Other people know the deity as Chenrezig. I'd like to put it both into the mother vase and also to send it to the Washington vase in the hope that from those vases, the seed of compassion can be sent to people all over the world so that their hearts can be filled with compassion for not only for themselves, but for everyone around them. So I'd like to kind of do that now. Namo Ratnatraya Namo Aryazana Sangara Berotsana Byuharadzaya Tattagataya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Namo Sarva Tathagate Be Arahate Be Samyak Sambuddhebhyo Namo Arya Avalokite Shvaraya Bodhisattvaya Mahasatvaya Mahakarunikaya Teyata Om Dara Dara Diri Diri Duru Duru Ite Wate Tsale Tsale Pratsale Pratsale Kusume Kusumaware Ili Mili Tsiti Zolam Apanaye Soha. Alalaho.
Alalaho. Thank you so much, Stephen. That was really beautiful and needed. I want to just underline the power of sound and intention to carry transformational energy into the world in a very real way. That we may not always be able to see things, right before our very eyes taking effect, but that doesn't mean it's not, these prayers, these intentions are not having an effect. So let's take heart. And I have noticed tonight there have been and are still a few wonderful men in the circle. We always have a plethora of women, especially this older white women. And it would be really nice after Michelle speaks if maybe one or two of you guys might like to open your voice a little bit and share into the circle before we close. Just a thought. Anyway, really appreciate all of your presence. Michelle, what have you got for us?
Well, I'm still resonating with the beautiful mantra. Thank you, Stephen. And I've been with sound of the didge that's still sounding was so powerful tonight, Julian. My experience of it was much more powerful than usual. I felt, as Marita said, a clearing, but what the somatic experience for me was especially this activity and tingling in the right side and back of my brain. And it felt like, this is a very linear culture and society. We have pentagons and things, all these linear things that, but yet it's the sound and the intention and the lighting up, the informational activity and sharing that I want to say resonates to open and bring forward what's been hidden and what we can't always see, don't even know is there, all the beings, all the holy beings, all the dimensions. And so, even in our own brains, there's so much territory that we haven't explored. And this is, it's, even just thinking about the Pentagon like a pentagonal, like a Platonic solid, this ideal. Well, so much swirls and flows of energy around that, and beings part of that flow help us even have that idea. So just sensing into and intending the generous, compassionate flow, as in the mantra, as in on the sound of our breath and the sound of our hearts, the sound of the didge, that knowing that the coherence is resonating more fully and resonating and bringing back to life those aspects that have been hidden and not seen. So I hope in all the hearts that can be touched even more deeply in places that haven't been touched, that this practice will reach and bring us more fully into life together.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Maybe so.
Thea, I can't find my raised hand, so may I just speak a moment?
You can flail your hands like this if you
I haven't
wouldn't
been
mind
on
that.
the Zoom for a while. No, okay. I just wanted to say how important you all were to this process. We called on you all. We felt the circle holding us of this community. And I think that's one of the things that's growing and weaving and becoming ever more powerful. And we thought of you. And we knew many of you were praying for us and were aware of what we were doing. And that just radiated out in such a beautiful way. So great gratitude for this community and the circle of the Earth Treasure Vase, stewards and companions. Thank you.
Thanks, Judith.
Okay.
I have a few more minutes here, still a little more time. So maybe a couple more people if you're moved. Otherwise, let's definitely hear from you, Julian, please.
Yeah, hi everyone. Great to be on the call. Freshly back from New Mexico, meeting a lot of you for the first time in person, which was really special and beautiful and incredible moment to be with us in our common unity of prayer for Mother Earth. Thank you, Cynthia, for hosting us and hosting me and making us so welcome over there. My prayer for this, for Washington, D.C. is a prayer that sort of came from some inspiration from an astrologer, Pam Gregory, which I think quite a few of us follow some of her work. And she was just saying that there's so many powerful forces going on at the moment, and it can feel like we're in a state of turbulence, just like an aeroplane that gets to a certain elevation and there's turbulence, and that's sort of like the turbulence representing the energies polarizing, and just the importance to realize that we're more effective when we're not polarized, when we go into that space of compassion for people that are not in balance, not making good decisions, positions of power, and to really see them as sisters and brothers, and to be able to, what she describes is like an aeroplane where there's turbulence, is lifting higher to get above the turbulence, to get into that state of balance and seeing things from that higher perspective, and being like an objective witness, and get into that state of connection where we remember who we truly are as beings of love and joy and compassion, and like in the Tibetan tradition, the four immeasurables. And we need to remember how our essence and hold that vibration in a time where there is a lot of instability. And so, yeah, my prayer, particularly for this region of Washington, D.C., is that people, you know, like Cynthia mentioned, just pause, come back to the breath when you feel like you want to react strongly, you know, try and fight for a particular point of view. Just breathe and just be present to where you're at in yourself, and to really find stability and being able to listen with a sense of compassion to other viewpoints, because I kind of feel like all the fighting and all the turbulence is just making the situation more volatile, and that some of us just have to make that strong prayer and decision to be those stabilizing forces for the energies. And I feel like we have to embody that state of non-reactivity in order to really be representatives of Gaia, like the big grandmother trees and the grandfather trees, and the ones that just don't have, you know, the voice to express, and but just be holding their beautiful beingness. And you know, so yeah, I just think that's sort of, you know, go into our hearts and not be so much in our heads, and just realize that there's something much bigger going on that we're all part of, and that we have the capacity with these spiritual tools to be that stabilizing force in the world. So from this land, you know, where things are fairly settled, you know, we've still got, you know, the same sort of issues playing out, but not to the degree of what's happening in the States. You know, we send you a lot of our love and support from this land, and from nature, and from the climate here, just to be of support to you in your lands, and for the highest good of where, you know, things are heading.
Thank you.
So just lots of love from us all. I'm with my friend Charles here. He's adopted by Mama Margaret Catherine, so part of this family, and his daughter Alexandra, and Raven Lily, who's my goddaughter. So it's so nice to be here with this family and sharing our love and support for you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Julian. I often have the feeling like the Australia, the experience of all of you in Australia, which is in the Southern Hemisphere, you're in winter, we're in summer, you know, there's a balancing there that is so important. And so the Australian family that is such a big part of our global community is very important to to all of us and what we're doing. So thank you so much for being with us in the way that you are, and for coming to New Mexico as well. We had an incredible retreat. For those of you who weren't there, we hope to do it in Australia next year. So may that be so. Anyway, I see two more hands, and I'd love to hear from both of you, and then we'll bring this call to a close for tonight. So Jessica.
Thank you, Cynthia. Womanjika, so hello from the traditional lands of the Bunurong peoples of the Kulin Nation, which is in the southeast of Australia. Thank you so much, Julian, brother. I'm hearing you, feeling you, and very much with the gifts that you brought to all of us from Mother Earth, connecting with the cosmos, with the didgeridoo, otherwise known as the Mornington Peninsula in Victoria, Australia. I'm new, so this is my very first time. I had the absolute privilege and gift of meeting two aunties, Maggie and Eva, who were at the beginnings of what we have here in Australia, which finished just a couple of weeks ago, the 1 week of the year on this land that we now call Australia, where we acknowledge our Indigenous, so our Aboriginal and our Torres Strait Islander peoples. So when I walked in to Wollamoraine, which is a sacred area in this part of Australia, for the flag raising, the Indigenous flag raising and smoking ceremony, I walked in with my little boy, Karim, which is an ancient Arabic word that means generous. And we walked in, and Maggie and Eva were sitting there. And of course, when one soul recognizes another, of course, I needed to sit with Maggie and Eva, as my little boy did too. So we sat, we connected with each other. And as Eva was speaking to me in between the smoking ceremony and the flag raising, she mentioned something about planting a vase, and all of these things were connecting in with me. They mentioned the name Cynthia Jers, and so there was a range of things that they had shared with me. And as I left that night, I began my great Googling. And so it's been an incredible shift, reset. At the moment, my little boy and I are living in the Middle East. We moved there in January of this year. We came home to Australia for the holidays. And these holidays have not just been about reconnecting with family, but it's been a profound shift, and the gift of being home during NAIDOC week, and then the gift of becoming awakened and in many ways welcomed into the knowledge of the Earth Treasure Vases. Cynthia, I thank you from my heart, my whole heart, for all that you are doing, all that you have brought. Judith, all the people who have been in this particular moment in the focus on Washington, D.C. Thank you. Thank you for all of this that you're doing. And I thank our ancients who are with us, all those who are with us, that are bringing us together so that we can welcome in new energies, new spirits, new people to help, to do the work, and the gift of being welcomed into this absolute fundamental truth. I want to express that gratitude into the vase. Thank you so much for welcoming us in, for bringing in all of us into this sacredness. Thank you. My little boy has also been acquainted. And so he, at the age of 10, is carrying this energy too. So we will return to the Middle East on Tuesday, just in a couple of days' time. And I will go back into that space. We live on water. So I will be planting these intentions. What I've gained from all of you, I will be also taking with me our First Nations from the lands that we come from, and the power that's coming from them and the power that's coming from them connecting into the First Nations in DC. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you so much, Jessica. It's great to have you with us. Hope you will join us again from wherever you are going forward. Yeah. Many blessings. All right, Christian, great to have you with us.
Thank you. I wasn't planning on saying anything, but then you seemed to call, and I wanted to answer. This is the third time I've been to the meditation. I found the group on resilience.org. It was in the midst of a deeply despairing run of reading climate news. And, you know, I struggle with climate anxiety. I have a young daughter who's about to be 3. But it wasn't just what you had said. I think there were a lot of synchronicities with what people had said. I remember about 10 years ago or so, I felt called to do some journeying with a friend of mine in DC. That was also kind of like a spiritual pilgrimage. And at that point, I remember being clearly aware that there was a distinct, for lack of a better word, spiritual apartheid between the intentions behind those monuments, which were built by a spiritual brotherhood that was very patriarchal and masculine in its intentions, but nonetheless had a spiritual intention for the United States, and another energy that kind of had a very different, almost shamanic quality. It also, as someone who's part Black and whose people have been here for a very long time, resonated with an energy that I recognize is coming from that part of my ancestral lineage. There's something about what people said today who are on the trip and the intensity of the energy of the meditation for me, aligning with those synchronicities, that I do feel that that vase allows some kind of bridge between those energies. And the depth of the meditation, and you know, someone mentioned Abraham Lincoln. I remember one of the spiritual dreams I had after an awakening where Abraham Lincoln was literally like with the ghosts of the past in the Civil War at my parents' house where I was, and, you know, speaking that some kind of rapprochement was still necessary. So I just, in terms of that background and a prayer, you know, I would love more than anything else to see an energy represented and an interest among, you know, men of a younger age to be present in spaces like this, and to have that intention, because I think we have a critical part to play, and nothing would make me happier than to not necessarily be the only one at times. And I think that has something to do with where energetically we have been allowed to be. So I'll just close it by saying, I've been thinking a lot since I've come to these meetings spiritually about people of my ancestry who have been lynched and the ritual dimensions of that, and how that factors into the way that our politics and our spiritual reality still exist. And I would pray for that energy, as best that I can describe it, to somehow be healed as well, because I think that has something to do with why we're not as spiritually present in this way, in a healing way. So I appreciate y'all listening to me. I don't think what I said was particularly eloquent. I was trying to say a bunch that, you know, it's really hard to say in a small amount of time, but thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming forward. It's really good to hear from you. And yeah, really very much appreciate everything that you said, Christian, including, I'll speak for myself, my deep wish for more young people to be present in this circle, as well as more people of color. It's something we're working on very actively these days. And we also do have a treasure vase, one of the ones that's been dedicated but is still in process, is dedicated to healing racism in this country, in the United States. That's its purpose. And so, would love to invite you to, get a little more involved if you want to. But thank you.
I would love
Yeah,
to.
great. So be in touch because we need you. We need you here for the healing that's called for. Yeah. And so glad you found us. So glad you're here. And I have also been struggling with my own despair recently. It's really hard to keep it going sometimes, even with all the beauty that is here in the circle tonight. Thank you, everyone. It's so restorative to come together in this way. So I want to encourage all of you also to find us on the mandala. We call it the Gaia Mandala, is on Mighty Networks. We have a platform there that's a private place where we can meet and talk and share more. If you didn't get a chance to share tonight, and Ian, I see your hand raised, but we really need to close the call now. So I'd love to invite you to either put something in the chat now, which we will post with the recording of this in the mandala on Mighty Networks. We also send it out, the recording out to everyone who subscribes to the Full Moon Call. But that place on Mighty Networks is a really great place to continue to share and cultivate all these prayers. This is, I sometimes see these little holy vessels as a kind of alchemy, that we're mixing all these prayers and offerings and medicines and cultural, healing herbs and whatever they all are, stones, like you showed us, Judith, that rock from the site, that was so rounded and well worn, it seemed like, these are all alchemical offerings that contribute in amazing ways that we cannot figure out with our heads how this works. But there it is. Hi, Jessica's 10-year-old son. So good to see a face there. Welcome. Speaking of young people, great to have you. So let's continue this, everybody. Let's continue it in all these ways. And Lars does have some photographs from the site where this vase was buried in Washington. We aren't disclosing the exact location because, as you may know, traditionally it's kept, as just, we know it's there. We don't know exactly where it's there. We don't need to know exactly where it's there. But in any case, those pictures might be nice to see, and it won't reveal the exact location. So Lars, if you, and I'm assuming, yes, there you are, you could send those to me and I will post them with the recording on the mandala. So another reason why you all might want to go into, if you're not a part of the mandala, please find us there and see those pictures, and you'll have an image to go with it. So maybe you're already there, Lars, and if you are, you can post them yourself, but this is a labyrinthian process, and we all have our, unique part to play, right? And every prayer is important. Every little bit of all of this is contributing to the world we want to see. So let's hang in there, everyone, and find each other next month again. May the blessings of this full moon and all the offerings and prayers that have been made into this treasure vase tonight and throughout time radiate out in every direction, and go exactly where they're needed to go, filled with light and love and the power of our knowing, our deep wisdom and knowing, fueled by the compassion that Stephen shared in his incredibly beautiful chant song. You know, like, let it be so. Yeah, nodding head in Australia. I see you. I love it. Okay, to be continued. Don't let this fade out in between. Keep it alive. Keep breathing. It's a powerful force, everyone. Much, much love. Let's find each other next month again. Bye for now.